So do you think these horses have this breeding of these, excuse me, quarter horse and all that, have really improved through the years? You've got a lot better horse today, better mind, easier to start, all those kind of things, or no?
I think that her legs aren't as good, and they can't make a circle. I mean, there may be good arena horses, and like people are today, they're gooseneck horses. But most of the quarter horses today, their feet aren't real good. I think that's from too much inbreeding and stuff.
Inbreeding?
Yeah, the greatest horses I was ever around was thoroughbreds.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And those feet, those horses, they bred them down with no withers, and then they ended up with really small feet, like an odd foot or something.
But there's some great horses in them as far as arenas are concerned, and turning around. And of course, these boys now are rodeo boys and the calf horses and the cutters and the rein horse people, but they wouldn't have fit when we were growing up.
They probably couldn't wrangle.
No, they had a lot of coach horses when I was growing up. My grandparents, I guess, they loved horses, and they had a lot of coach horses, and so they were big strong horses, and then they had a lot of Morgan horses in them.
Oh yeah.
Mixed in, and those horses could really travel. They were pretty tall horses, some of them.
Well, you had a registered horse herd up there at the IL. You registered there in the Wahi, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then if one didn't work out, you got another one? Huh?
There was plenty of horses to choose from.
So the Wahi and those Indian horses, and that's what a lot of it was in the cabbie when I was there.
Yeah.
The Indian horses. But they could stand, they'd stand the miles.
They could do the miles.
Yeah.
Them Ellison horses was probably half thoroughbred and half Morgan horses. And tough son of a guns. And if they got 6, 7 years old, well, you could ride one all day long, uphill, downhill, whatever. And the other thing about them thoroughbred horses, that if you was riding one of them big old thoroughbred horses, them Mustangs, you could eat them up.
Yeah, sure.
Just a little ways. If you was tough enough to go off them mountains on them,
Here we go, old Jim run them Mustangs off a mountain someplace.
I took a little registered thoroughbred to the fraternity at Reno one time, and everybody made fun of me, big long-necked horse. But when he finished working, everybody was on their feet.
Really?
Yeah. That was good.
Well, do you think that this younger generation, like, you have the grandkids and all these people are growing up under the Marvel name, and I've always said this, and I say it publicly, is that if you see somebody on a horse and he's a Marvel, they all look the same on a horse. I don't know if that's genetics. I don't know if that's a
Came
learning.
from her side.
Must come from your
She's never
side.
said anything about her side.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
but
Good. Go
anyway,
ahead.
it came from her side. Us Welshmen couldn't do a damn thing. It's the Spanish.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Those kids, they all look the same. If you don't know who they are and you see them from the back, I know it's a Marvel. Everybody never see just the way they ride and the way they carry themselves. And it's almost like it's genetically. So your family, were they horse people in California?
Yes,
They were the vaquero part, right?
My grandfather was.
California vaquero style, no?
Yeah.
She's a seventh generation Spanish now.
Really?
Yeah. And her family.
His place was a land grant, Spanish land.
Spanish land grant. And your town was Camarillo?
Mm-hmm.
Camarillo, California. I
Named
remember.
after her grandfather.
Right, that was after your grandfather. So do you think that, going from the, well, of course they don't use snaffle bits, those vaqueros and Bozels, but this business of going to the two-rein and straight up in the spade bit and all this stuff, there's a lot more of that now than there was here several years ago. This has got really popular with all this vaquero things that they do. You think that's good in the horseman
I think
world?
it is. I think it's good, but I don't think it's always necessary. But yeah, I think it does. But Rosita doesn't like to admit it. But the greatest horse I ever rode was one that I bought, he was kind of a cranky horse. That's how I got him. And after I got him kind of settled down, I asked her to ride him for me. And I won the Cow Palace and all those big rodeos on him. And she made him, and she won't admit it. I came home, and I thought, what the hell's wrong with this horse? He turns around.
What the hell's wrong with it? You thought you'd done something wrong, the horse started turning around. Huh? I can't turn a horse around either, Tom, so don't feel it. So, did you ever show horses like at the
No,
fair?
sir.
Or Cow Palace? And,
No,
no,
sir.
none?
None.
I can't believe this, Sandy.
You know, my father showed horses with Tom and
Yeah.
them guys, and
We had a lot of fun.
whenever there was a horse show, I'd go to rodeo,
Ride bucking horses.
ride bucking horses.
Jim he was judging one year in Oregon, and our youngest boy Pete went up, and of course Jim let him win.
I remember that, Jim.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Pete's horse
know
walked
the-
right into the fence.
The best horses that I ever seen all come from the old Spanish type deal. Ride them, start them in a snaffle bit, and rode them in a hackamore.
And the two rein and then the
Two
spade,
rein.
yeah.
And the difference with all them good horses is if one guy stayed on them. If 15 different guys rode one in a year, like
Yeah.
these guys today, why they stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Right.
But if one guy stayed on them,
Yeah.
they would, well, I was probably 17, but we was gathering steers away, and I was riding a pretty rank old horse, but I told the buckaroo boss there, I said, I gotta gallop circles behind these cattle because there's gonna be a hell of a wreck here in just a little bit. And, oh no, you gotta go slow, go slow. Pretty quick he blew up and bucked down through there and scattered a few cattle. And the next time we shipped steers, Ellison come around and he sit down beside me at the dinner table. He said, tomorrow we're gonna weigh them steers. You ride that bridle horse of mine. He said, don't, if you ain't got nothing better to ride than them goddamn things.
Don't show up with
Don't
that.
go up. Get on that bridle horse.
Huh?
So that gave me a chance to ride a nice broke horse.
How'd that feel?
That felt pretty nice.
Huh? Well, now Ray Hunt went to work for you on the 25
Well, he
wagon,
came to
right?
the TS and he came up with those boys out of Bruno, and Ray was a club-footed boy, but he could ride about anything. But he had a terrible temper and everything, and so he was working at TS, and then he came over there to rep. Actually, he didn't work for us, but he repped there. So he kind of worked the horse over, and I said, you should meet this man, this Tom Dorrance. He might help you. And they just got clicked together. And of course, Ray did a lot of great things for people, and went on then and became great. You know, Ray was a good cowboy, and he could, like I say, he rode horses that most of the guys at TS couldn't ride. But he had a lot of heart to him, and he's just one of these guys that Tom Dorrance was actually a genius, and Ray was probably following him up near being a genius. They could do other things besides ride a horse. They could invent gates, and they could do different things like that.
But Tom wasn't a communicator, was he?
Well, Tom was one of these people that could read a person as well as he could read a horse. And of course, he had the ability to be able to ride anything too. And so it was just kind of, he kind of knew how to put two people on a horse together. And that's where he had so much over most people. When you start helping somebody, you have to figure out what the person is too, which I could never figure, so I don't try to help anybody.
I went to the horse palace over here one time, and Ray Hunt had a seminar, and he was in the barn with a little group of people showing talking horses, and Tom Dorrance was outside with a big group of people, and this lady said, "You know, I can't get my horse to figure 8. Can you help me?" Tom said, "I don't know." And he got on that lady's horse and just rode him around there, galloped him a little, and just circles. And pretty quick he dropped his reins and was figure 8. And he came back, and that lady said, "Why won't he do that for me? He don't like you." That's all he told her, too.
He told her.
Yeah.
And he was quite frank.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah. But he worked, I was around him about 16 years, so I had a big privilege. And my brother John, of course, started lots more coats with him than I did. But the first time he came in with that idea of starting coats, he had about 40 head of horses in the ground. He put me on this little sorrel horse, and I said, "Where do I go?" He said, "I'll open the gate." He opened it. A whole bunch of us just drift. So then he comes out and wrangles us and brings us back.
That's back.
I thought he's trying to kill me.
Really? So now there was a horse that come in this country, and well, I happen to have one because of you, that Colonel Pick breeding from. You started that deal.
I broke him.
You brought, but that guy that has the Fairleigh Ranch over there, you kind of started him.
I
on
worked
horseback.
for him.
You worked for
I worked
him,
there for 8 years.
and then you broke the Colonel Pick horse.
Yeah, I
and
broke
stuff.
him, yeah.
Right. And they became pretty famous horses. In a lot of
He was a pretty outstanding horse.
Was he?
Yeah. He was a hard horse to show, though. I had him at the fraternity one year, and won a go around on him. The next go around, there was a mare horse, and then we left the ring on our feet. He reared up, and I couldn't do anything with it.
Really?
Yeah, but he was a stud, so it was,
Yeah.
yeah. But his coats really came out.
Yeah, well, you know, that horse I got here, he
Yeah.
turned out to be an unbelievable horse, you know, and because of you, that's how I ended up with the horse.
Well, I was just fortunate to be able to get a lot of horse. It really, to have a good horse, be a good horseman, you have to have good horses.
Yeah, right.
Horses that want to work for you and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you know, there's a difference between being a good outside cowboy and a showman. You know, a good outside cowboy can ride anything and get the job done. And most of the showmen, they're just an arena. You know, they get,
Right.
you know. But there's some of those that are good too. But I don't think today, I shouldn't talk about them, I don't think. But there isn't very many guys, like Jim said, hell, that even know a cow. You know?
Yeah. So when all those guys that drifted through on that wagon, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Who do you think was the best cowboy that ever drifted?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. There was so many good ones, Billy Kane and all of them, a lot of them, the Chapin boys and all of them. It's really hard to say. If you said, you know, it'd be taking something away from one to the other,
Right.
because everybody had, but there was just so many of those good boys came through, his brother and your cousin. And incidentally, I was going to say, I'm sorry to hear that he died. I didn't know that he died till the other day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But in those days, though, there was a lot of those, when I came here in the 70s, there was a lot of those bedroll cowboys that just went from one place to the other and rode them horses all the time, right?
Well, there was, but we never, Ellison's and most of those, we never put up with that. Claude Bartow would never put up with that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Claude was quite an individual, I think, and he really was. I enjoyed being around Claude when I did. But he always liked to wrestle. And boy, that big guy grabbed me. I didn't know where I was going.
Well, yeah, he's pretty big, but